Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Today, we are diving into something really cool in the world of data science, unsupervised machine learning. Whether you're a college student just getting your feet wet with Python, a data enthusiast, or an aspiring ML engineer, you are absolutely in the right place. We're going to explore how algorithms can act as our ultimate tool for discovering the unknown. We're talking about finding hidden structures in data when we don't even know what we're looking for yet. How wild is that? Okay, to really wrap our heads around this, I want you to picture something. Imagine you walk into a gigantic library, but thousands of books have been dumped completely randomly all over the floor. You have to organize them, but nobody has given you any categories. There are no signs for science fiction or history, nothing. What do? Well, your brain naturally starts looking for patterns, right? You'd probably group books with math formulas together, books with historical dates together, maybe novels in another pile. That innate human ability to find structure in pure chaos, that's exactly the modern problem with massive unlabeled datasets. And it's exactly what we train machines to do. So here is our game plan for today. We'll start with uncovering hidden data patterns, define what clustering actually is, and then we'll walk through exactly how the K-means algorithm works step by step. After that, we'll tackle the tricky part of choosing the number K before wrapping up with some mind-blowing real-world applications. All right, Section 1, Uncovering Hidden Data Patterns. Think of an unsupervised machine learning algorithm as a data detective stepping onto a super chaotic scene. To really understand our detective, we kind of have to contrast it with what it isn't. In machine learning, there are two main approaches. Supervised learning is, well, it's like a student who already has the answer key. It uses clearly labeled data sets. For example, it might predict a disease because it's been trained on thousands of photos explicitly tagged by doctors as malignant or benign. It knows exactly what it's looking for. Unsupervised learning, on the flip side, deals entirely with unclassified, unlabeled data. It doesn't have a suspect list. Actually, scratch that. It doesn't even know what a suspect looks like. It just has raw evidence, and it has to figure out how everything connects. Nobody is telling the machine what to look for. It literally creates its own labels by finding relationships completely on its own. Moving on to Section 2, what is clustering? If unsupervised learning is our detective, clustering is definitely its magnifying glass. So what exactly is it? Simply put, clustering is the process of identifying discrete groups of data points that share similar attributes. The algorithm analyzes a massive data set and groups similar points together based purely on their mathematical proximity to one another. And it does all this without anyone giving it the categories ahead of time. It's used for everything from organizing news articles to discovering anomaly patterns in a network. It's a total game changer. Now, what's really interesting here is how this applies to real business data. Let's say you analyze the cloud computing purchasing behavior of different companies. Almost instantly, two distinct clusters emerge. Why? Because small and medium enterprises just have completely different buying habits compared to huge enterprises. An SME might just buy some basic cloud hosting, right? But a large enterprise, they're scooping up advanced web application firewalls and complex virtual private clouds. Unsupervised learning analyzes these habits and naturally separates them into two distinct groups without us ever having to provide a label that says this is a small business or this is a corporation. It just naturally finds that hidden pattern. All right, Section 3, How K-means works. Let's pop the hood on the most popular clustering algorithm in the world and walk through exactly how it gets the job done. Like any good data project, it all starts with data collection and pre-processing. But once the data is cleaned and scaled, the algorithm begins by examining completely unclustered data. Imagine just a bunch of dots scattered randomly in a multidimensional space. There's zero structure, no grouping, just raw information waiting to be organized. But before we make our first move, we need to define a really crucial term, the centroid. Think of a centroid as the epicenter or the central anchor point of an individual cluster. Literally everything in K-means revolves around these centroids. So the very first step in the algorithm is essentially a highly strategic guess. The K in K-means literally just stands for the number of clusters we want. Let's say K is 2. The algorithm randomly picks two starting points dispersed across the data to act as our initial centroids. They absolutely don't have to be perfect. They just give the algorithm a place to start its work. Next up, the algorithm has to figure out which data points belong to which centroid. It does this using the formula for Euclidean distance. Now, please don't let the math formula freak you out. If you vaguely remember the Pythagorean theorem from high school geometry, it's exactly the same concept. We are simply calculating the straight-line distance between all the unassigned data points and our two new centroids. By measuring those distances, the algorithm assigns every single data point to whichever centroid is closest to it. And boom, just like that, our very first rough clusters are formed. But the algorithm isn't done yet. Those randomly guessed starting points from earlier, yeah, they probably aren't the true mathematical centers of these newly formed groups. Let's move to and see how this builds. The algorithm now smartly updates the coordinates of those centroids. It calculates the mean, the actual average position, of all the data points within the new cluster, and then it physically moves the centroid to that exact spot. But here's the catch. Because the centroid shifted, some data points on the edges might suddenly realize they're actually closer to the other cluster's centroid. So, the algorithm reassigns the points to the closest centroid again, and then moves the centroids again to the new average. It repeats this iterative loop over and over. Finally, it reaches a state where the centroids just stop moving, and no data points switch sides. At this point, the algorithm has settled into perfect, distinct final groupings. It has officially organized the chaos. Section 4. Choosing the number k. This brings us to a massive challenge for beginners. How many clusters should we actually be looking for? With k-means, you have to tell the algorithm how many clusters to look for before it even starts. But if we're exploring unknown data, how do we know if we should be hunting for 2 clusters or 5 or 20? Well, there are 2 main approaches. The first is mathematical. It's called the elbow method. You run the algorithm multiple times with different numbers of clusters and measure the sum of squared errors, which is basically just a fancy way of saying how tight the clusters are. You plot these errors on a graph and you look for a sharp kink, or an elbow, where the error drops off super significantly. That kink is usually your optimal k. The second approach is much more human. We call it domain knowledge. This simply means using practical business logic to guide the machine. Let me give you a concrete example of domain knowledge in action. Imagine an IT provider analyzing their website traffic. A data scientist might confidently set k to 2 right out of the gate. Why? Because basic business logic tells us there's a huge difference in spending behavior between new and returning visitors. First-time visitors are just browsing. They rarely buy massive enterprise-level infrastructure on day one. Returning users, though, they're usually the ones ready to pull the trigger. By injecting that human expertise, we can set k to 2 and just let the algorithm test our hypothesis. Section 5. Real-world applications. Let's look at how these abstract geometric steps are solving massive, high-stakes problems out in the real world every single day. So the crucial point is how this technology is absolutely transforming personalized medicine. Take complex diseases like cancer. Breast cancer isn't just one monolithic disease, right? It has numerous molecular subgroups that respond totally differently to treatments. By feeding genetic traits and tumor characteristics into a clustering algorithm, researchers can identify disease subtypes that nobody even knew existed before. It does the exact same thing for Alzheimer's. Clustering allows doctors to ditch one-size-fits-all medicine and develop highly tailored, customized treatment plans for distinct groups of patients. It's literally saving lives. And it's not just healthcare, folks. It's cybersecurity, too. Anti-fraud companies like DataVisor use unsupervised clustering to catch highly sophisticated cybercriminal rings. Hackers today are incredibly smart. They create these sleeper cell accounts and act like totally normal, legitimate users for months just to build up a clean history. Supervised learning struggles to catch them because it only knows what past attacks look like. But unsupervised clustering, it analyzes hundreds of millions of accounts and finds incredibly subtle, hidden correlations between users. It groups malicious actors together based purely on their structural similarities, stopping sleeper cells before they even have a chance to strike. And honestly, that beautifully illustrates the true magic of unsupervised machine learning. It doesn't need to know the answer beforehand. It just needs the data. From uncovering brand new cancer treatments to stopping international cyber syndicates, clustering brings structure to chaos. So as you continue your journey into data science, I want to leave you with this thought. What other hidden patterns in our massive, chaotic world are just waiting for a clustering algorithm to discover them? Keep learning, keep exploring, and thank you so much for joining me on this explainer.